426. 426. 426.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Darling, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Yes, but it's a positive thing for me. The High Life, the Shy Life.
You won't find a cast of characters like this everywhere.
Hello, Paul.
Delicious. This particular episode of The Shy Life is a little more abstract than usual.
Oh, yippee.
Okay, looks like the hairy guy is ready to record. 3, 2, 1.
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh, I hope he hasn't found out my secret. Maybe he has.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Shy Life podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti. How you doing? I'm all right. I've got Martin here. Hi, Martin.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Well, this is actually, well, no, it's not the first episode I've done in 2021, but it's the first. It's pretty much I don't know when it'll go out, but
You mean it's only the second?
Yes.
How can you have already done?
Well, I did. Well, I guess I did the first few seconds of the New Year episode. So.
Okay.
Although I was by myself, so you are my first proper guest this year.
Oh, well, there we go.
But this is probably going to be out in May, by the way. Anyway, we're going to be talking about music, and we're up to 1967, so that's what we'll be talking
1967.
about. 1967.
I will be 3.
Are you going to be all psychedelic this episode?
Oh, yes, I think so. I have got my flowery shirt and my round mirror spectacles, and I'm wearing a nice long wig and a headband. And it's all peace and love, and I've just put a flower in my recording device.
Careful, you might damage it. Well,
I'll take that out again because it's ruining the sound quality.
Okay, well, we're going to run the theme music, and when we come back, we'll get started.
It's time for my old buddy, old pal from across the channel, across the pond, Paul Chandler, the Shy Yeti.
He's not that shy. Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast. Yeah.
All I wanted was a pie.
And then I hatched out with an egg. Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
It's the quiet ones you've got to watch, you know.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep? Is it deep?
Boy, he's not all that shy, is right.
Blimey, Governor. It's the Shy Life podcast.
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for it to begin.
It's the Shy Life podcast.
He's positively glowing.
And we're back. So yes,
Have I got my mandolin?
So 1967. What was little Martin doing in 1967?
Oh well, let me see. Well, I was deeply into Patrick Troughton. No, I wasn't. I tell you what, there's a thing about 1967 is that my sister. I've said this before, but I got a Doctor Who annual, an old Doctor Who annual when I was a bit older. And it was a Patrick Troughton one. And I opened the page and there's a picture of the Emperor Dalek. And my sister said, I remember that. And I thought, swine! I can't see that. And you did, and you're not a fan. It's not fair.
I was thinking...
So I imagine not a lot. I mean, I've got a few pictures from that era, and I'd seem to be walking around in very bad shorts and playing with wooden toys. Because we had wooden toys back in those days. It was all a bit primitive. They were all probably made in the shed. Although, interestingly enough, my mother in 1967, I suspect, as much as anything because of me being the age I was, had a playgroup.
Yeah.
A playgroup that she ran, She presumably got paid by other mothers to look after their children in the daytime. And that gave me a circle of friends none of whom I've ever seen again. But our garden, my dad turned it into the house we had then, into sort of an adventure playground. So there's a big climbing frame and a swing and these sunken tyres for children to run through. And the thing I vividly remember is he made a steam train, footplate.
Yeah.
So there was a kind of... So I was probably playing on that sort of thing, really. I have very few memories of being 3. It must be said. There are photographs of me looking very stern. I've always been convinced I was born about 40, so I'm probably there. I'm probably there in my tweed suits and smoking a pipe and just generally looking condescendingly at everybody. All these other children just running around being no, stop it at once, be sensible. Here's the Times.
I think what I was said when I was a bit like that, but I was I knew when to be silly and when to be serious, and there were times when, I didn't want to be silly in class, which then meant we had a detention and couldn't leave and get home, and I had to go get a bus to go. So there was silliness, and there were times not to be silly because you just wanted to get out of school. You didn't want to be silly in school and then have to stay there longer. So it was
quite right too. Quite right.
Anyway, I've got some facts about 1967 before we hit the music. So, January the 4th, The Doors released their debut album. On the 8th of January, Elvis Presley turned 32.
That's very specific.
Yes.
It's 1967. Elvis Presley was 32.
Yeah.
Why don't you don't tell us about 1965? Was he 30 then?
Yeah, well, you missed out there. This is 15th of January. The Rolling Stones appear on the Ed Sullivan Show. At Ed Sullivan's request, the band changed the lyrics of "Let's Spend the Night Together" to "Let's Spend Some Time Together."
Let's bend some spoons together.
That might be better.
Uri Geller about a decade later.
Yeah. And the 16th of January, the Monkees begin work on Headquarters, the first album to give them complete artistic and technical control over their material. What else?
You see, I'd have put that much later. That is interesting, actually. I mean, I do like the Monkees, but I would have, Headquarters. I like Headquarters. My sister had, we still have it, the LP of Headquarters. Or Head. Sorry, is it Head?
Head's the following year.
Right.
Yeah, they're doing 2 albums. I looked at it yesterday. They were doing 2 albums a year. I think both their albums in 67 was doing okay. I think the first one...
they're the 2 my sister bought. It's More of the Monkees and Headquarters were the 2 we had.
Yeah.
This is why I'm a Monkees fan to this day. It's all her fault.
I don't know if I've got... albums. I tended to have. I'd buy the TV series if it was more readily available. But
there was I bought a set. If you know those, they used to have those very slim replica CD sets which had like 5 LPs in. Yeah. I had the Monkees one of that, and that's very good actually. Yeah. And that has both Headquarters and More of in it. So that big nostalgia fest for me. I actually ripped copies for them and gave them to my sister because illegal. I didn't do that.
You thought about it. You thought about doing it.
Well, like I say, she lost a lot of her LPs for various reasons in a house move once, and for some reason I ended up with the Monkees albums, so I still have them. But I thought she might appreciate hearing them again after all this time.
I remember Head being a bit of a difficult album, a difficult film to find. When I was at university, and my flatmate at university and I bought a copy of Head around the same time as we bought a copy of Clockwork Orange, which was also not available at that time, from this shop in Birmingham, that's a weird film.
It is interesting though, because in some ways it kind of sort of it sort of has a feel of Help, the Beatles. Yes. It has that same sort of, and it's not like it's a knockoff, but it's a difficult thing to watch. I find it. The music, as ever, is exemplary, but the plot is sometimes a bit. What? I mean, I love the TV series. I must get hold of the TV series. At some point.
Maybe it'll come out again at some point.
This is it. So many things that you find out about 5 years after they've been deleted, and you're just waiting for somebody to re-release them. It's almost like you think, no, there's no market for that.
Yeah, sorry. No, I was just going to tell you a few more bits and pieces. We've got at the end of January, we've got the Beatles shoot a promotional film for Strawberry Fields in Knoll Park in Sevenoaks.
They didn't film it in Liverpool.
No. We've got, this is a bit of a dark one. UK record producer Joe Meek murders his landlady and then commits suicide by shooting himself in the head at Holloway, North London, on the 3rd of February.
Blimey O'Reilly. There's a lot. It's quite a lot of that about. Is that after Joe Orton?
It must be around that time, but I can't remember if that's 66, 67 or 68, but it's one of those three, I'm pretty sure. But,
Dark Stuff.
Yeah.
Dark Stuff. I'm sorry, because I rewatched the Kenneth Williams programme last week. So, the one with Michael Sheen.
Yeah. Apparently, on the back to the Monkees again, on the 6th of February, Michael Nesmith and Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees fly into London. Dolenz sees Till Death Us Do Part on British TV, which uses the term Randy Scouse Git from the programme for the title of the Monkees' next single. But they don't realise...
She's a wonderful lady and she's mine. Oh my... Yeah, great song.
But they don't realise it has to be censored to alternate title in the UK. You should think...
There's a lovely thing about Robin Williams and the Mr. Wanker, who's in one of the more episodes. Yeah. Because he just liked the word. Yeah. He'd been in Britain and he liked the word. He's like Mr. Wanker became a character.
Dear.
So it's like that. I like that sort of cultural clash when people don't. It just sounds interesting. Oh, Randy Scouse Git, love it. Yeah.
Well, apparently, Mickey Dolenz went round to Paul McCartney's house on the 7th of February, and they had a photo together for the press. I don't think I've ever seen that, but I'm sure we'll find it on the internet somewhere. But. By the 14th of February, actually on the 14th of February, Aretha Franklin records Respect at the New York-based Atlantic Studios. And on the 16th of February, it was declared, in Detroit, Michigan, it was declared Aretha Franklin Day.
Is this... because she famously wouldn't fly for a long time. She was very afraid of flying, so I'm assuming that was before she... took that decision because obviously she was touring, and I've seen her on sort of British, in British studio appearances. So unless, of course, it was coming over by boat. But interesting. I tell you what, interesting also about the fact that you've got the Beatles and the Monkees is you've got two surviving of each, and you kind of think now there's a supergroup.
Yes. Yeah.
Dolenz, Naismith, McCartney and Starr.
They should suggest it.
The Beat Monks.
Yeah. We should start the campaign.
The Munkles.
The campaign starts here on the Shy Life podcast. On the 25th of March, The Who performed their first concert in the United States in New York. And
did they smash guitars from the off?
Probably. They probably got banned as well, like the Kinks. But
I do like the Who.
Sorry, I don't want to infer that they did. But
I do like the Who. I think there's some class music in the Who's back catalogue.
Yeah, I was looking to see what was available of theirs on vinyl. I mean, it's all available somewhere on vinyl, but easily accessible, and not some rare.
I keep forgetting you're one of these vinyl people. Yeah,
well, only because I got bored during lockdown. I thought, why not?
I still find it a weirdly retrograde step, but I can see why people like it.
I did have to go for my vinyl collection. I went over the Christmas holiday and discovered that during my 2016 vinyl phase, I bought some albums that I've since rebought because I didn't bother checking. So I think I've now got 2 copies of Magical Mystery Tour on vinyl. But of course, I recently dabbled into the best to worst lists of Beatles songs and got very cross on an episode recently, but because some of the reasons that people suggest so and so song is a bad song is just because it's a bit of a novelty song, but that's not a bad song to me. That shows how broad, the Beatles aren't just for 40-year-old rock critics.
In the town where I was born. It's great. It's actually, I know it's got soul, it's got a little bit of urban this, a little bit of urban that, but people just think it's a novelty song because they had to play it at school, I think.
But those would be the songs of theirs that I heard first.
Yes, precisely, and indeed we all did, really. I mean, I suspect it's funny actually you think about that, because we used to play these tunes in music lessons at school, and I actually probably didn't realise they were Beatles songs. Yeah. They were just songs that were in the songbook we had to do at school.
Yeah, I remember there were a few songs we did at school that I now since know, actually they were 60s hits. On the 27th of March, John Lennon and Paul McCartney are awarded the Ivor Novello Award for Michelle, the most performed song in Britain in 1966.
Were there a lot of people called? I know you got Michelle in EastEnders. That's a bit early. A bit too early for that. That's possibly why she's called what she's called. But it's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if that's partly to do with the fact that it was a hit for another band as well. Because I think another band released Michelle as a song.
Well, there is that whole sort of exotic, it's a bit French thing, So. It's sort of in certain times in the 60s, the British, it was actually, we were quite keen on things from Europe.
Yes. Yeah.
Italian, and it was exotic and exciting, and we'd set television series there, and now we just. Anyway, let's not go there.
On the 30th of March, the Beatles were photographed with the collage and wax figures from Mandatory Swords, which basically the photo ended up as the cover art for Sgt. Pepper.
Yes, of course.
Let me see what else.
It's interesting, really, because when were the waxworks made of them? When were they famous enough to be in Two Swords?
I think we mentioned. But they would have been the earlier versions of this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was just wondering, did they update them in Two Swords?
They must have done They must have done. Although, whether they updated them because of the.
Well, it's just because, yes, like you say, because they're in the old suits and things on the cover of Sgt. Pepper. So,
I wonder.
It's kind of an interesting thing. It's like that Tom Baker.
Yes.
Those pictures when his the grinning one was made.
Let me see. On the 1st of May, Elvis Presley married Priscilla Bewley at.
And he was only 30.
Yeah. How did you know that? At the Aladdin, Las Vegas. The Aladdin in Las Vegas.
The Aladdin.
Okay. May the 2nd, Capitol Records pulled the plug on the Beach Boys' Mysterious Smile project, which I think eventually did get finished, probably in about the 90s or noughties. But,
so that was the end of their record deal, or did they jump ship to go to another?
Well, it's taken more than a year to compose and produce the album, but Brian Wilson cannot bring himself to finish it. So.
One of those. Yes, that thing about being an artist where you can't quite decide when the painting's finished. I could just do a little bit more. No, send to the gallery.
May the 12th, Jimi Hendrix Experience, I Experience album is released in the UK, and on the 15th, Paul McCartney met American photographer Linda Eastman at a club called Bag of Nails.
Hey,
what else?
Hello. Are you Linda Eastman or Linda Kodak?
June the 1st, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is released.
And music changed forever.
I do remember in 1987 there being a bit of a sort of, it's 20 years ago today, and there being a bit of a thing.
No, there was a sort of cover versions release, wasn't there? That had different people do, versions of all the tunes on it. And I'm trying to think of any of the acts who did it, so it probably says a lot about the project, really. But of course, there was a lot of documentaries as well about that time. The people who said that they bought it on the day and just played it and played it and played it and played it. So there was a lot of buzz around it as an album, and of course. People say it did change because people hadn't really done the concept album. I mean, that may or may not be true. We'll find that out as we go along. But it's certainly seen as a definite benchmark or a definite turning point.
Yeah, I don't know whether it was the inspiration because the next sort of 3 Kinks albums in 68, 69, and 70 were all sort of concept albums, let me see, I'll just whiz through a couple more, then we'll get on to the actual music. June the 28th, the Supremes perform for the first time as Diana Ross and the Supremes at the Flamingo Hotel in...
Promotion. So Shy Yeti and the Round the Archive.
I don't think that would be allowed.
Maybe it's round the archives and the Shy Yeti.
Oh dear, with the Smellcast as phone.
Was it the Shy Life podcast feet?
Oh dear. What else would be?
Oh, you see, the billing is an important thing. You know, you think about the Towering Inferno and where the typefaces are on the poster and left and right and that credit that says "and" at the end of the title sequence. You know, all these things are important to agents.
I've got another sad one here. August 23rd, Brian Epstein's last visit to a Beatles recording session at the Chapel Recording Studios on Maddox Street. The last new Beatles song he lived to hear was Your Mother Should Know. And he died on the 27th of August 1967. I recently discovered he lived quite close to where I work in Belgravia.
Was there a plaque?
I don't think there was. I think it was when I was doing a quiz over the summer and trying to find out more facts about Belgravia to put in the quiz that I discovered that he actually lived a couple of doors down.
I've just read a memoir by Sandy Toksvig. I don't know if you have heard of it. Her memoir is about... Basically, she did a sort of life story, but based around her experiences of the number 12 bus route that she catches in London.
Yes, I've read that. It's very good, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very good book. Yeah. Although she does seem to have been a bit Zelig and have been at all these points in history where her family, you know, they were at the Apollo 11 launch and obviously she was on the Graham Norton show the day before Carrie Fisher died that Carrie Fisher was on, and so on and so forth. So you get these moments. I think they even said they were in Dealey Plaza. I'm not entirely sure. They've Zelig, and her father was at the Ambassador Hotel when Robert Kennedy was shot because he was a correspondent. This all makes sense, but it is a little bit of that Zelig feel to the book. Yeah. But highly recommended.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I read that about the time it came out, I think, but it was bought for me. I wasn't sort of on the lookout for it. I really sort of when I started it was unputdownable. But
I have books on my sort of wish list thing. And if ever I have to round up to get the free postage, I just plonk another book on it, you see.
I'm reading Paul Merton's autobiography at the moment, and that's interesting as well.
I do like... I've gone through a phase of biographies and autobiographies this year.
Yeah.
Memoirs and stuff. I seem to have done that more than reading fiction.
Well, I have, but mine's gone for about 4 or 5 years now, where I mainly read autobiographies. But
that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah.
One more fact for 1967. Boxing Day, the first telecast of the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour on the BBC One in the UK, shown in black and white. It upsets McCartney because it ruins the intended psychedelic colour effects. But then, you know, not many people had colour TVs then. I suppose if it was broadcast, though, if you had it or not, you wouldn't have seen it. So. I suppose we don't usually cover the albums, but I will, as I've got a little list here, I will mention some of the big albums of the year. So we've got Between the Buttons by Rolling Stones in January. We've got Surrealistic Pillow by Jefferson Airplane. Deliver by the Mamas and Papas. I don't know. Younger Than Yesterday by the Byrds. This is all February. We've got the Velvet Underground and Nico in March. We've got... Right. I don't think I know this album. Album 1700, Peter, Paul and Mary. Is that they'd released a lot of albums to get to 1700? That's even faster.
No, it was just 267 years old.
We've got our old friend Cliff Richard with Don't Stop Me Now.
Right, Don't Stop Me Now. I'm having such a good time. I never knew that was a cover version of a Cliff song.
And we've got another Rolling Stones. This is a compilation, Flowers, in June. I think I've seen the cover of that one. Leonard Nimoy presents Mr. Spock's Music from Outer Space. That was also released in June.
It's amazing that when you think about it, and you know, not to be sort of too weird about these things, but it's actually amazing how quickly people leap on a bandwagon of something that's popular. You know, because you think, I mean, Spock could only have been on telly about a year, and if you think about it, in and of itself, sort of Star Trek. You know, it sort of wasn't popular in its second year. So it is kind of interesting that would have been spotted as a thing that soon.
I think I was surprised when I later found out that I think Leonard Nimoy was on Mission Impossible for as many years as he was on Star Trek, or near enough.
I think he did 2 years on. Did 2 years on Mission, but as Paris, yes, but yeah, it was actually very shortly afterwards. It wasn't, It's kind of weird because you do kind of think of people as being sort of not necessarily one note, but they've got this one. I mean, he was on Mission Impossible. We've got the complete Mission Impossible set, and yet somehow I forgot he was in it.
Yeah. Or I didn't realise that he was in it. He wasn't in it when Barbara Bain and Martin Landau were in it. He was separate. He was after them. I kind of in my head they were all in it together, but.
Yeah.
But he was a replacement for Barbara Bain. No, he was a replacement for those sort of two leaving.
Both of them, yes. He was half Bain, half Landau. He could have done Space 1999 all on his own.
Oh dear. Right, I think there's a lot more facts I could give you, but I think we should look to the actual hits. Right. So in 1967 we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 number ones, which...
Is that all?
Yeah, I think it's slightly less than... But actually, I was going to say, when I looked at this earlier, this is probably a rare year where I don't think there's going to be any of these that you won't recognise. Whereas usually we have one or two where we go, what? I don't think there's a single one that you won't recognise.
Well, to be fair, I mean, they're all likely to... I mean, the thing about it is if they've sold that many in 1967, they're all going to be standards. They're all going to be classics. They're all going to be things you've heard of. I mean, they're all... I mean, that must be, an average 1, 2, 4 weeks each?
It's more of a mix. There's some that are sort of 5, 6, 7, and then there are some that are... There's nothing that's less than 2 weeks, which again is in other years you've quite often got like 1 week and we've been surprised, but there's nothing that's 1 week in 67. But now the first number one of 1967 in the UK is "I'm a Believer" by the Monkees.
Fabulous. And covered famously by Vic Reeves. Yes. Brilliant song. It's one of those songs that when I was a student, and I was a student in the mid-80s, people used to look at me about this funny old music I used to listen to because it had only been 20 years old then. Yeah. But people just didn't... I think people genuinely sort of forgot about the Monkees for a while, which is a great shame. And then, obviously, something like the Vic Reeves version comes up and you think, oh, that's a Monkees song. And they'll go, oh, what song? And you go, a Monkees.
When was the period when the Monkees was still being shown on BBC? I presume it was BBC. That's where I saw it, but it must have been early 80s.
I think it turned up in a bit like Batman either on breakfast television, on ITV, or on Channel 4 in its early years. So it did have a bit of a revival, but I'm not entirely sure which channel it was on. But I know it did come back, and it was very popular again for a while. Yeah.
Actually, although I've just said that that I'm a Believer was the first number one, I actually think that it's possible that the first number one was actually Green Green Grass of Home by Tom Jones, having gone from the end of, I think that, because that was 7 weeks, so I think that was all of December and half of January. So, yeah, the Monkees, I'm a Believer, was the first unique song for that year.
Well, we were talking about that, weren't we, when we did 66, and it's because again with that and the sort of Ken Dodd thing as well, there was this sort of tendency to have these songs that were a bit, I don't know, I wouldn't say maudlin, that's not the right word, but just nostalgia, the definite nostalgia, and it makes you wonder about the demographic of who was buying the records, if you see what I mean.
Well, I'm a Believer was number one for 4 weeks, and then for 2 weeks we have Petula Clark, This Is My Song,
right,
which I think I know that one, and then we have another one which you could say probably fits into the same demographic as Green Green Grass of Home. It was Release Me by Engelbert Humperdinck. I'd say that was a sort of similar type of song, really.
Yeah, it does have the music your dad would buy or your mum would buy.
And although it wasn't the biggest seller of the year, it was there for 6 weeks. Following that, I'd say the next one was a little bit easy listening. We have Nancy Sinatra and Frank Sinatra, Something Stupid, for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then we have for 3 weeks Sandy Shaw, Puppet on a String, which was the Eurovision entry that year, I believe, and won, I think. I better check that, but I think that's the case. Yes, it is best known as the British winning entry of the Eurovision Song Contest '67.
So yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, I know we go on about sort of Britain and everything like that, but it's now been 22 years since they won Eurovision, and you know what? Back when they were winning, that was when there was like 40 countries voting. It has become a bit of a thing, really. You know.
Well, the next number one after that for 3 weeks again was Silence is Golden by the Tremolos.
Silence is Golden.
And then we had another big one after that for 6 weeks, A Whiter Shade of Pale by Procol Harum, which again isn't the... Release Me and A Whiter Shade of Pale both equal each other at 6, but we have a 7 week coming up, which is the biggest number one of the year, or at least biggest as in terms of weeks anyway. Following A Whiter Shade of Pale, and only for 3 weeks, considering how famous the song is. Well, I suppose that I think all these are famous, but we have All You Need Is Love by the Beatles for 3 weeks in July. We're into July already, and then following that, one that's very much associated with the Summer of Love, San Francisco, Be Sure to Wear Flowers in Your Hair by Scott McKenzie for 4 weeks. Wow. That's one I believe that's written by the guys from Mamas and Papas.
Okay.
Right. Again, I better check. Well, it's written by John Phillips, who was in the Mamas and Papas. But it was used to promote the Monterey International Pop Music Festival in June that year. There's another one I always think of by the Flower Pot Men, Let's Go to San Francisco. I think my parents had that one rather than this one. But I think but San Francisco by Scott McKenzie is probably the more famous of the two. Then we have Engelbert Humperdinck again with The Last Waltz.
It's funny though, of course, you know that Humperdinck connection with Eurovision later on.
And the Last Waltz is probably even more middle of the road than Release Me. And that...
Yes. Although again, very popular in his time. I mean, there is definitely a sort of requirement for that kind of music. But like I say, I don't. It doesn't really say this is what the kids were grooving on down the disco a go-go, you know. The
whole year is very laid back. I mean, a lot of the songs are really kind of they're all quite. There are a lot of quite middle of the road songs. I guess it's I mean, when you think of things like say 1995, which was very Britpoppy, at least if that's what you liked, it was very Britpoppy. But then there's lots of cheesy pop that year as well. It's only when you look at the actual charts you realise, if Britpop was doing really well, but lots of other things were doing really well, and you could equally say it was the year of cheesy pop or dance pop or whatever. I don't think the number ones necessarily represent. We might find there's a bigger picture when we look at the actual sort of single side, the singles that weren't number one. But The Last Waltz was number one for 5 weeks, so nearly as big a hit as Release Me. Following that, we have another one, which I guess you could say was quite laid back. Massachusetts by the Bee Gees for 4 weeks.
Massachusetts. It's Kenny Everett's favourite.
The next number one for 2 weeks, I don't know, it's a little bit more upbeat. Baby, Now That I Found You by the Foundations. And then for another 2 weeks we have Let the Heartaches Begin by Long John Baldry. I don't really know whether Long John Baldry had that hit or that hit alone.
Named after his underwear, no doubt.
Yes. I'm just having a quick look to see if he actually had any other hits, but apparently, before achieving stardom, Rod Stewart and Elton John were members of a band led by Baldry.
That's interesting.
But it does have quite a lot of records released, but there's no chart. Oh, here we go, chart position there. There's lots of singles, but there's no mention of where they charted. So I expect they probably didn't chart that high. But yes, that's quite interesting. Type Cuckoo, Unseen Hands,
Right.
Mexico. I don't think any of these were big hits, or they would be trumpeting that fact on this site. But, interesting. Now, our final number one of 1967 in the UK was the biggest, well, the longest remaining, and it was Hello Goodbye by the Beatles.
Okay.
It's kind of a surprise, really, that Hello Goodbye was sort of a number one for double plus the length of time that All You Need Is Love was. But I don't know that you'd pick it out as being more famous than All You Need Is Love. It's just, maybe it was a Christmas. It's not even that it's a particularly Christmas song or anything. So
No.
it's a bit of a question mark. Actually, I'm looking ahead to 1968, but I think there's a lot more number ones in 1968. I will name some names at the end of the episode of who we can expect, but without saying the names of the songs, but as we usually do. But before we go over to America, let's see what other songs are in the top 10. I've never heard of this one. If Every Day Was Like Christmas by Elvis Presley and the Jordanaires again. Elvis Presley with the Jordanaires and the Imperials Quartet. Got to number 9. We've got Happy Jack by The Who.
Happy Jack.
Yeah, Happy Jack. That got to number 3. In the Country by Cliff Richard and the Shadows, number 6.
This is weird. I always think of these titles as being somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure because lives in a very big house in the country.
Yeah.
But of course, it's just it takes you to different places. And you kind of actually wonder whether these titles triggered thoughts in other music writers. You know, if you see what I mean.
I don't remember this one by The Move. Night of Fear.
No.
Night of Fear.
Night of Fear. Well, that sounds like one of your favourite series.
Yeah, it does. Got to number 2. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I'm still amazed though. When you think about it, it's such a short list for the year. It really is. It kind of boggles you a bit. That because like you say, I mean, you've got all these other songs that were not quite good enough to be number ones, or not quite popular enough to be number ones, and yet astonishing year when you think about 1967. Absolutely the cusp of musical progress, and this is where everything changes in many ways, and yet there's so few songs. There was such a small range, if you like, at the buffet.
Yeah, and also, although I said I knew them all, there were probably a lot of them that I wouldn't have. Although I have quite a big collection of 60 songs, there'll be quite a lot of them that I don't have in my collection because they're a little bit too. A little bit middle of the road, to be honest.
There's like I say, I know I go on about this quite a lot, but there's a difference between popular and good sometimes, and you get that in television, you get that in all films, and I think you get it in music as well. You can have a popular song, but it's not necessarily a good song, and vice versa.
Because.
Was that a bit of politics?
No, because you've got people who.
Oh, being political there, Paul. Being political today. It's controversial. Bit controversial. You'll be getting letters. Luckily, they don't come to me. So who was that idiot who was yabbering on this time? I don't know, mate.
You've got people like Nancy Sinatra who were popular for like Boots Are Made from a bit, but then because something's Yes, of course. Yeah. Is that Ick in the building?
I think Ick would be insulted.
I wonder what a Martin version of Ick would sound like.
Well, you have the technology.
Yeah, I have the technology, we shall see. Yeah, Something Stupid is one of those songs that keeps coming back with...
Oh, I thought you meant me.
No,
Sorry. Yeah.
No. That was a Tom Jones and Keris Matthews from Catatonia did a quite successful version of that in the late 90s. Or was that It's Cold Outside? Well, somebody did Something Stupid. Many people have done Something Stupid.
Well, yes. In life, generally.
Yeah.
Turning Up Today, I think, might be one of mine. No, matron, please.
Of course, one of the songs that missed out on number one, which I wondered whether we'd...
Nicole Kidman and Robbie Williams.
Oh yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
I know that Tom Jones did his duets album and did sort of in the same sort of time, I think. But we've got Sugartown by Nancy Sinatra. They got to number 8, but the one I was going to mention that I'm surprised wasn't number 1, of course, is the double A side of Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields Forever, which only made number 2.
Now I've got on the shelf somewhere, I believe. It's kind of like an EP. It's a 7-inch EP of the Beatles, but that had 3 songs on it. So I think that had Eleanor Rigby and something else on the A side, and so I think there was a sort of surge of 45s that had 2. But of course, this was the whole thing when the 2-minute pop song was still popular, so you could do that, I suppose, on a 7-inch single. Because nowadays a CD is half that size, and of course everybody's now downloading anyway, or buying vinyl.
Yeah, some of us.
Actually, again, that is the thing that sort of fascinates you. Is there was a phase when literally, I think I've said this to you before. There was a friend of mine who he showed his daughter what a 7-inch single was, and his daughter was blown away by this. This is before vinyl really made any kind of a comeback, because she just couldn't. Well, yeah, what you have to turn out. How many songs are on it, Dad? And it's like just the one.
I was listening to when I was going through my collection to see what I actually had. I found a Bangles album which I liked, but I'd forgotten that I got it on vinyl. It actually isn't currently been re-released, so I was quite pleased to find I had it in my collection. But it was one that I picked up for £1 about 20 years ago, and then just never really played. And I put it on my turntable for possibly the first time that it's been played in 20 years, and there's not a crack, a hiss, or a scratch or anything.
I've got funny enough, I've got the first 2 Bangles albums on vinyl. My friend Mike at college was a big heavy metal fan, but he discovered the Bangles. And so I did actually buy it all over the place.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a Bangles fan. I did see them. I saw them in concert, but since before I saw them, I think it was on my birthday in about 2011. There was only in LA,
are they still talking? Because that seems
they got back together in about 2000, but there's only 3 as a 4-piece, but they're only a 3-piece at the moment. But
that seems to happen as well, because Queen, one of them.
Yes,
well, I know one of them died, but then the other one said, I'm not doing this anymore. I want to go back to teaching geography.
Yeah, I think one of Depeche Mode did that as well, and became their manager.
Yeah, and of course REM, of course. Because of 4 pieces becoming 3 pieces. And even Genesis, although we don't talk about the Back to Front Hobbit.
I kind of miss there not being any new REM albums. There are definitely people I used to kind of follow their albums up until the point they sort of vanished. But
yes, I think the last one I bought was New Adventures in Hi-Fi. But yes,
one or 2 good ones after that. But
funnily enough, I think like New Adventures in Hi-Fi is the day I bought it. Someone lent me a copy of Metropolis that they had, and it was one of these things where he basically said to me, "Oh, yeah, obviously it's the film and it's brilliant, but the soundtrack on it is rubbish." So he said, "Just if I were you, I'd put just some CDs on and watch the film." And so basically, New Adventures in Hi-Fi. All of the images in my head are from Metropolis. So it's
So some other hits we have in 1967. We've got Edelweiss. How do you pronounce that? Edelweiss. Edelweiss. Yes, I knew it was something like that.
Edelweiss from Sound of
Yes,
Music.
that's right. I got to number 2.
Which I had to learn all the words to, and I can do. But I think I've done that before, so perhaps I won't.
We got On a Carousel by the Hollies. Got to number 4. That's a good one. There's a Kind of Hush by Herman's Hermits. Number 7. George.
I always think that's an interesting thing. You're writing a piece of music, and yet you actually draw attention to the fact that you want silence. I always think it's kind of an interesting way to go.
Yeah.
You're like, this is the worst song in the world. I mean, that's not what you'd call a song, unless you. Yeah, I suspect maybe Finland might put that in at Eurovision.
We've also got Georgie Girl by the Seekers, number 3. And
hey there, let's make an advert. Of course, that makes me think of the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Now, you must have the Mary Tyler Moore Show in your.
I do have like the first season, and I would like.
I knew you would have.
Yeah.
Can't get it for love nor money here, but.
We've also got a Tom Jones one that got to number 8 called Detroit City, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But
Detroit City. Yeah, that'll be another one that you play to me in a month's time. We go, oh, it's that one.
Yeah.
Like the Concrete and Clay.
Yeah, which is like.
It's the minute you said it to me, I thought, oh yeah.
But actually, when I was editing that episode, and I played it to see what it was, and then I sent you that, and then I played Then I went back to editing and continued, and you did know it at the time because you then sung it. But so I was like, oh, I shouldn't have sent you it. You knew it anyway.
Well, I know, but that's the thing. It's really weird. It's kind of like it. I remembered it, and then I forgot it again. Yeah. I forgot that I'd remembered it, and then I tell you, this is why you can't trust me on these podcasts, Paul. I can't remember a damn thing about it. What do we do? Let's write an LP, okay?
Sorry, who are you again?
I never said that. No, I never said that. No, I never said that.
Well, the next song I shall mention is suitably weird. Simon Smith and the Amazing Dancing Bear by the Alan Price Set. That's number 4.
Now that's a title I can remember, but I can't actually. And I know, and I remember it was probably one of those things on Junior Choice every week. But because it's the sort of title that people would get to play for their kids and all this kind of thing. But I just genuinely couldn't tell you now what the lyric line was for it at all. In sense of, but such a famous title.
Yeah, it doesn't. Apparently, it was written by Randy Newman, and he was intending it to be. He was intending it for Frank Sinatra Jr. That's presumably not. That's the younger one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was going to say
Old Red Eyes. Yes.
Apparently, the song appeared in the first episode of The Muppet Show, sung by the character Scooter as Simon Smith, with Fozzie Bear as the dancing bear.
That makes sense. It's a bit of a literal leap. That one. We've got a bear. Oh, there's a song about a bear. It probably wasn't the biggest stretch of imagination. They did better. Halfway Up the Stairs is a much better song.
Yeah. We also have I Was Kaiser Bill's Batman by Whistling Jack Smith, number 5.
Yeah, I must admit that's not. Again, you play that to me, I would go, oh, it's that one. But no. Right.
We've also got, believe it or not, in 1967, This Is My Song by Harry Seacombe that got to number 2.
Big fan of Harry Seacombe in our house. My sister particularly liked Harry Seacombe because he Welsh, but always reminded her of my dad. They had a look, I suppose. But, of course, much spoofed when he went over to religious broadcasting, unfortunately. But a goon, and therefore a good guy. One of the goons.
But bizarrely, this is the same This Is My Song that Petula Clark got to number 1. So bizarre that people were prepared to buy it again so soon after, or at the same time.
But it's Harry.
Do you know who wrote This Is My Song?
I haven't a clue.
Charlie Chaplin.
Was it Cliff?
No, it was Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie
Chaplin in 1966.
Good lord. Well, he's probably short of a few bob. Hadn't done a film in a while, had he?
No. Well, we've got another we've got another Monkees song. Got to number 3, a little bit me, a little bit you. Da, 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 da.
I must admit, there are some insipidly bad Monkees songs. I mean, that one about the kind of girl I could love. Bloody awful. It's just such soppy, sentimental, you know. And what's that one that goes, Sandra, oh, what a big girl, lips like strawberry pie?
Yes, not the sort of pie I've seen. But
No, Sandra, long hair and big girl, can't make up my mind. That was it. Long hair and big girl. Thank you very much.
you can.
That all you think of me?
I'm not surprised to see that a little bit me, a little bit you is written by Neil Diamond. It does sound very Neil Diamond.
Yeah, well, I mean, Diamond, they did a lot of stuff for them. Probably where a lot of his money came from, really, when you think about it.
We have Ha Ha Said the Clown by Manfred Mann, number 4. And another Cliff top 10, It's All Over, although it wasn't.
You see, again, this is the thing. I mean, you look at a lot of those titles, and those are the titles. It's almost like children's songs, you know. Whether they, I mean, they're not. I don't think they were intended as children's songs. But you write a song called Ha Ha Said the Clown. It's going to end up in a school songbook for children to perform with recorders and things. You know, it's just going to happen because it's got a clown in it. You know. So what was the Cliff one?
The Cliff one was It's All Over, but it wasn't. No, not at all.
No, another 50 years of this, mate.
We have Purple Haze by the Jimi Hendrix Experience, number 3. We have I'm Gonna Get Me a...
Excuse me while I kiss this guy. Yes, that's the...
I'm Gonna Get Me a Gun by Cat Stevens, number 6.
Yeah, well, he made it. I mean, he made a very peaceful transition, didn't he, from lyrics like that?
Yes, I Can Hear the...
what's the one? Matthews song.
Yeah.
That's one. Yeah, I do like Matthews.
I Can Hear the Grass Grow... say that again. I Can Hear the Grass Grow by The Move, number 5. Dedicated to the One I Love by Mamas and Papas, number 2. Another Tom. Funny, Familiar, Forgotten Feelings, number 7.
Funny, familiar, forgotten feelings. I don't think it's that.
No, I think I...
Ding, ding, ding. Oi, there we go.
Like I had it in
back to the Cockneys.
I feel like I had it in my head and then you sung and it wiped out of my head. Like...
Quite right too. As my singing does to me. I say singing. That's what it does. It bleaches. Mind bleach, Paul. Mind bleach.
We got the Boat That I Row by Lulu. That's a good one. Number 6. That's Pictures of Lily by The Who. Number 4. Waterloo Sunset, of course. Number 2.
Oh, Waterloo Sunset. Yes. I was defeated. You won.
Then I kissed her by the Beach Boys, number 4.
As opposed to Then I Kissed the Teacher. Hold on, I'm suddenly seeing some pattern here.
There goes another Engelbert Humperdinck song. There Goes My Everything. There goes my blues.
My everything.
2.
I left my everything somewhere. Where was it? I don't know. It flew off the back of the boat. I never saw my everything ever again.
I never remember this one. The Happening by the Supremes, number 6.
Okay. That'll be one that is just that, but it's really familiar. I guarantee you. Or not.
Carrie Ann by the Hollies. That's a good one. Number 3.
That's one of those ones where the name has got about 57 syllables, isn't it? Rianne.
I don't know this one by Dave D. Dozy, Beaky, Mick and Titch.
Beaky, Mick and Titch.
Okay, with a big exclamation mark. Number 4. That's not one I know.
See, it wouldn't have sold if it hadn't had the. It's a bit like a West End musical. It has to have the exclamation.
They're Salisbury area people, or at least some of them are, along with the Trogs.
There you go. And so it should be in your DNA. It was probably played to you in the womb at one point.
See Emily Play by Pink Floyd, number 6.
Okay.
What else?
Interesting. You see, again, the funny thing about I've got some early Floyd. But I'm not familiar with early Floyd. I mean, you know, like a lot of people, my Floyd really is sort of Wish You Were Here and Dark Side of the Moon and the other Floyd stuff as well. The sort of Syd Barrett Floyd is. I do have a LP of it, you know, a collection of it, whatever. But
Relics.
I don't play it very
There's
often.
one called Relics, isn't there, which is like the best of that era.
Yeah. I don't play it very often, but I obviously should. I should go downstairs, and when I'm cooking me tea tonight,
when
I'm cooking me tea, I should get the old Syd Barrett Floyd. I've obviously let it slip.
I always remember Careful with the Axe, Eugene. That's the title. Oh, and there's one about, there's the bike. I've got a bike. You can ride it if you like.
Absolutely, you know, it is batshit crazy, the late 60s, isn't it, in terms of, you know, this kind of thing. I mean, if you go back to television, there are episodes of things like Randall and Hopkirk which have musicians in, and they're all got the most bizarre hair and clothes and all this kind of thing. And it's so, in many ways it's so easy to parody, and yet it was such an inventive time, you know. You think now a lot of that stuff. This is performance art as music, really. So.
Now there's a cover version of "With a Little Help from My Friends" by the Young Idea. It's got to number 10 because that wasn't
Idea.
Yeah, I don't think I've even heard that version. But of course, that wasn't the single for the Beatles. So, but it's kind of strange how. You know, the album's only just come out, and people are rushing to. It's like, did they check? Did they check whether? Oh, the Beatles aren't releasing this one as a single. We'll do it.
But that's a Ringo, isn't it? That's a Ringo sing-along. But of course, famously, is it Joe Cocker?
Oh yes.
Cover of that, which was used for the Wonder Years.
Yeah, that's from that sort of. That's from 67 or 68, isn't it? But. What else we got? We got "Death of a Clown" by Dave Davies from the Kinks.
Okay.
Another Tom Jones, "I'll Never Fall in Love Again," number 2.
I think Tom's protesting too much there.
Releasing a lot of singles. "I Was Made to Love Her" by Stevie Wonder, number 5. What else? Oh, we've got another Alan Price set song, "The House That Jack Built," number 4. One of my favourite Mamas and Papas songs. I think it's pronounced. Is it pronounced Creaky Alley? It's the one that is kind of about how the Mamas and Papas were formed.
I think we're getting though to. I mean, obviously the Mamas and Papas didn't make it, but we're getting to a time, unfortunately, where we are still, you know, able to say that some of these performers from then. This era are still performing today, and that really can't go on much longer. You accept that. It's fascinating that these careers have been so long. You know, and you know, some they say. I mean, you get Tom Jones is still performing. Time of recording. Sorry, but you know, and you know, you've still got Beatles, the Stones. You know, give them enough bribery, and they will. Put a concert on, they are there and they're still able to.
Yeah, and Paul McCartney's just released a new album in the last few days at time of recording.
Precisely. So you do start to realise that we're probably now stretching the elastic for that. Unfortunately, but it is fascinating that these people's careers were this, are still able to touch us today in 2021.
We've also got "We Love You" by the Rolling Stones, number 8.
That's sorry.
That's the "We Love You." That one.
Sorry, I just had this vision of
the Beatles.
of whether they were covering a Beatles song. I don't think the Stones ever covered a Beatles.
They could have done
She Loved You.
They could have mixed them up together. We've got "HQ Park" by the Small Faces, number 3. Let's go to San Francisco, as I mentioned, got to number 4 by the Flower Pot Men.
Well, Summer of Love, of course. The whole San Francisco thing is a big thing in that era, isn't it?
Yeah. We've got Hero.
Love San Francisco. Lovely city.
Yes.
Love the place.
I went there for my 30th. Heroes and Villains by the Beach Boys, number 8. Reflections by Diana Ross and the Supremes, number 5. Flowers in the Rain by The Move. Hole in My Shoe by Traffic, number 2, which is the song that Neil from the Young Ones later covered.
Do.
The Day I Met Marie by Cliff Richard, number 10. What else? One or two more, but then we...
But Marie's the name of his latest flight.
Yes. we will hop over to the States in a second. Oh, we've got another Dave D. Dozy Beaky McIntitch song, Zabadak, with an exclamation mark. Did every single song they do
Had to have an exclamation. It's the times. It's the times they were written.
We also got in November Autumn Almanac by the Kinks, number 3, which I think I said when I've said this before. When I heard it, the first time I heard it, I thought it was like a novelty song from the 90s, because I thought it was a spoof 60s song. I didn't realize it was actually. I liked it so much that I think I thought it was. I think for some reason I thought it was Frank Sidebottom. I just thought it was a sort of quirky song. And then I looked into it. I was like, oh, okay. Of course, it was harder to find out things like that back then without Wikipedia.
Yes. You see, what gets me is if you came across it on the page, the name Dave D. Dozy Beaky McIntitch, your brain would go, what? But because it's so familiar, Dave D. Dozy Beaky McIntitch just feels like an expression now. It just feels like, yeah, that's what it should sound like. So,
and still sort of features in jokes. I'm pretty sure I saw somebody sort of say, "Oh, what's the name of the reindeer?" With Rudolph, and they started listing it, and then they put Dave D. Beaky McIntitch at the end of it as well. So it still gets referenced even now, probably by people our age. But we've got "Love Is All Around" by the Trogs, number 5, which of course had a revival many years later. I don't know this one, but this fits in what we were saying. "San Franciscan Nights" by Eric Burdon and the Animals, number 7. Just a minute. Eric Burdon and the Animals, has he done a Supremes? He's well, not literally. He's not dressed in a frock. I don't think he is. But
I'm bigger than the band. Yeah. I'm bigger than the band.
I got "There Is a Monkey." There is a Mountain by Donovan.
There is the Monkeys.
Yeah. "I Can See for Miles" by The Who, number 10. "If the Whole World..."
CSI. That was CSI New York.
"If the Whole World Stopped Loving" by Val Doonigan, number 3. That fits in with our middle of the road. Well, I presume it's middle of the road. Something's Gotten Hold of My Heart by Gene Pitney, number 5. That later came back and got to number 1 many years later. We've got another Cliff Richard, "All My Love," number 6. "Careless Hands," Des O'Connor with the Michael Sam Singers, "Careless Hands." But Des.
The Michael Sam Singers used to do featuring things like little children's singles I had, like "The Big Red Bus" and "The Thirsty Mini." And again, these were all things that turned up on Junior Choice.
Wasn't it? Weren't the Mike Sam Singers on "Sing Something Simple"? I used to remember that one. There's something. There was
Popular Combo.
Yeah, popular beat combo.
Amongst parents, like that sort of thing.
We've got World by the Bee Gees, number 9. "I'm Coming Home" by Tom Jones, number 2. He had a lot of singles out in '67. "Here We Go Round the Mulberry Bush" by Traffic, number 8.
"Here We Go Round the Traffic Island" by the Mulberry Bush.
"Thank You Very Much" by the Scaffold, number 4.
For the Aintree Iron.
And "Daydream Believer" by the Monkees, number 5.
Cheer up, Sleepy Jean.
Yes. We really ought to head over to America to see what they had going on.
Well, it won't have been anything like as good as what it was over here, will it?
Although we may find there are a few we don't recognise. I can already see. I can also see a few songs that were unappreciated or less appreciated than they should have been in the UK, doing better in the States. So in the States, for the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, we have "I'm a Believer" by the Monkees. Then we have "Kind of a Drag" by the Buckinghams for 2 weeks. I don't know that at all.
Okay.
The Buckinghams. They look a bit like They are an American sunshine pop band from Chicago. They formed in '66 and went on to become one of the top-selling acts of 1967.
That you've never heard of.
Yeah. They only had 5 top 40 hits though, and they dissolved.
5 more than I've had.
It says they dissolved in 1970. Well, literally.
Oh, that's acid rain probably.
They look a little bit like them.
Yeah,
They look a little bit like the pictures of the Monkees when they first started. They look.
It's interesting, really, because the Buckinghams, to me, the idea of the Buckinghams just makes me think of, I don't know, gunpowder plotters or something. I've got visions of them in 16th century garb, sort of all being hung, drawn and quartered for plotting against the king.
Or it makes me wonder if Lindsay Buckingham was in there, if it was for Fleetwood Mac, but they weren't. But he wasn't.
Yeah. Well, maybe one of them is his dad.
It doesn't seem like it was even released in the UK at all. So it was a number 18 hit in Australia, and it was also number 1 in Canada.
Right.
And released in New Zealand and South Africa in the top 20, but not in the UK.
Wow.
So following that, we have Ruby Tuesday by the Rolling Stones, just for 1 week. Then we have Love Is Here and Now You're Gone by the Supremes, just for 1 week.
Okay.
We have Penny Lane.
Is that before they were dying?
Yes, they're still themselves.
So obviously negotiations went on during 1960s.
Then we have Penny Lane, which wasn't a number 1 as we discussed in the UK, but it was only for 1 week in the States. Then we had, for 3 weeks, Happy Together by the Turtles. I know that one. But I also remember when it did pretty well for Jason Donovan in the late 80s. But,
yes, of course.
Then for 4 weeks we have Something Stupid by Nancy Sinatra and Frank Sinatra. For 1 week, The Happening by the Supremes. And then for 2 weeks in May, Groovin' by the Young Rascals.
Groovin'?
I don't think... I don't know much about the Young Rascals.
No, there's Little Rascals, which is a comic strip. But
I think
it wasn't... No, I don't know.
It did go to number 8 in the UK, so it was a little bit... Maybe we would recognise it if we heard it. Then, for 2 weeks, we have Respect by Aretha Franklin.
R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
Oh, and then Groovin' came back for another 2 weeks by the Young Rascals. So then we have...
So people didn't have enough respect.
No, they were too busy grooving. But then this is the trouble. If you don't have respect and you spend your time grooving, then you get the following song. You become Windy. For 4 weeks, Windy by the association.
You would think the grooving would get out your system.
Yes, they look a funny bunch, that lot. There's a picture of the association. They look like they've been photoshopped from lots of different bands into one band. That all the faces don't look like they fit in the picture. They look like...
Is this kind of like what the Village people did? Sort of 10 years later, they had everyone had a different image.
Yeah, they don't look like they fit in the same.
Frame continent
wasn't a hit in the UK.
Right.
It was a number 6 hit in.
You can't force these things.
No,
you know?
It was number 6 in New Zealand though, and number 14 in South Africa. But yeah. Then we have Light My Fire for 3 weeks by The Doors. All You Need Is Love by The Beatles for 1 week. And then, I'm sure this must have been a hit in the UK. For 4 weeks, we have Ode to Billy Joe by Bobby Gentry, which is one of, I think, is certainly one that my
off the Tallahassee Bridge.
One that my dad used to play a lot.
Tallahassee Bridge. I can't remember what bridge it is now.
Yeah, I think.
Chappaquiddick. No, not that.
Number 13 in the UK.
So this, of course, would have been the soundtrack to Vietnam, wouldn't it? Really, in many ways, that era.
Yeah.
So. Maybe these are the songs that were, now on all those movies.
Yeah. Then we had, for 4 weeks, The Letter by the Box Tops, which is definitely one that, I don't know from the title, but it got to number 5, so I probably will know it. This is why these episodes take such a long time to edit, but because I go off onto YouTube and
get rid of my waffling. That takes a good day and a half.
It's the YouTube lure. Then we had, which I don't think this was as big a hit in the UK, for 6 weeks we have To Sir With Love from Lulu.
Okay.
now. How high did it get in the UK? Only 11 in the UK. So,
that was from a
from a
film.
film,
Yeah.
but clearly, more popular in America. Then for 1 week we have Incense and Peppermints by Strawberry Alarm Clock.
Okay, that's going to be one that will surprise me.
Yeah.
But, Incense and Peppermint.
Yeah, which I think I may have listened to relatively recently, thinking I didn't remember it, and then I realised I did. But
oh, it's that one. Yeah.
then for 4 weeks we have Daydream Believer from the Monkees, and then for 1 week Hello Goodbye for the Beatles. I don't know whether it goes into the following year, but anyway. So some similarities and some differences, and some people who were doing better, some UK people who were doing better in the States than they were at home.
That's where the money is.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
But, well, we're nearly done, but I do like to lure the listeners in a bit by mentioning some of the names of people who did well in 68. And so names to look out for in 68 include Georgie Fame, Love Affair, Manfred Mann, Esther and Abby Ofarim, Dave D, Dozy Beaky McIntitch,
whoever they are.
The Beatles, whoever they are, Cliff Richard, Louis Armstrong, Gary Puckett and the Union Gap, the Rolling Stones, the Equals, believe it or not, Des O'Connor, Tommy James and the Shondells, The Crazy World of Arthur Brown,
Crazy World of Arthur Brown,
the Beach Boys, the Bee Gees, Mary Hopkin, Joe Cocker, Hugo Montenegro, and the Scaffold.
Well, saw a tweet from Mary Hopkin only yesterday.
Well, Martin, thank you very much for discussing 1967 with me.
Always a pleasure.
I think 1968 is going to be a bit of a handful. There's a lot going on, even more than in 67. So, but yes, well, we're rapidly approaching the end of the 60s, but we've only 2 more years to go.
We'll have to find a whole new decade or a whole new country.
Yes, or both. Okie dokie. Well, thank you, Martin. And coming up after the end titles, of course, we have Ick singing the greatest hits of 1967.
Better than me. Oh. Okay, you take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Okay, bye for now.
Silence is gold. Silence is golden.
Oh, hi, Ick.
Hi, Paul. Sorry, just rehearsing.
I'm glad to hear it. Yes, I think that's the trouble sometimes. You don't rehearse enough.
Oh, I've rehearsed lots for this episode. Lots of rehearsing.
I am very glad to hear it, Ick. Because Martin did ask if you needed any help. I think he would quite like to have a sing-song.
Oh, what? Me sing with Martin? But, is he trained?
I don't know if he's trained, but strictly speaking, I don't think you're trained.
I beg to differ, Paul. I have spoken to Tallulah Twinklehorn.
Well, I've spoken to Tallulah Twinklehorn as well when I've been doing singing with Harry, but doesn't make me a professional.
Yes, well, the next thing you're going to say is you want to do a duet with me.
I wasn't going to inflict that on you or the listeners. They've heard quite enough of me singing when I've done those episodes with Harry.
Yes, Paul, yes. I'm glad you're realistic about it all.
Yes, Ick, quite realistic. Anyway, I can hear the theme music, so you better get in place.
Yes, I'm all ready to start singing.
Good luck.
Break your leg, Paul.
Thank you. Anyway, all right. Don't go away, listeners.
Don't go away, listeners. Really.
I gotta go now. Bye.
I want to go with you.
Gotta go. Bye.
Goodbye, 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 goodbye.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
Oh, such mysteries.
That Yeti. He's crazy.
Oh, yippee.
I have a voice. I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice. We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
The Shy Life Podcast is proud to present Ick the Alien singing the big hits of 1967. Let them have it, Ick baby. Yeah man, you're just so groovy. Go cat go! Exclamation.
Hello listeners and welcome to my medley of songs. And when I saw her face, and I'm a believer, not her out of place, with the song in her eyes, and I saw love, ooh, she's a believer, I'm a believer, we're all believers, we are. It's not quite right, I don't think. Well, I move on. Please release me, let me go. I've stubbed my massive, great big toe. No, that's not it. Oh dear. I think somebody substituted false versions of the lyrics. But we better study the Uncle John. Something stupid like something stupid like I love you. Yes, I wonder if someday that you'll say that you'll care. If I say I love you madly, I'll gladly be there. Like a puppet on a string, ding, ding. Love is fun like a merry-go-round. Oh, the fun of a fair. Oh dear, that's quite tiring. Very upbeat, that song. Silence is golden, but my eyes still see. Silence is golden, and it's very hard to see. Yes. What a shade of pale. I trip the light fandango, and dooby-dooby-dooby-doo. And listen dooby-dooby like the white shade of pale. Oh dear, that's a tongue twister, that one. Oh yes. All you need is love, la 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 la. All you need is love. Love is all you need. Boo-doo-boo-doo-doo. Love-a-dee-dooby-dooby-dooby-doo. If you're going to San Francisco, boom, 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 oh, be sure to wear some flowers in your hair. Boom, boom, there's a lot of lovely people. Oh, dear, and that's not quite right. And the last waltz, I don't like that one. Massachusetts, that's the wrong song. Going down to Massachusetts. Baby, now that I found you, I can't let you go. All the world around me, your big red toe. Oh, 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 I can't hear you. Oh, okay. Baby, do-do-do-do. Now that I found you, I can't let you go. Do-do-do. World around you. And here we go. Oh, dear. You say yes, I say no. You say stop, and I say, go, go, go. Oh no, you say goodbye, and I say hello, 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 goodbye, goodbye, hello, goodbye. You say hello, I say goodbye, you say oh dear, oh dear.
Funny you're singing that song, because it really is time to say goodbye.
Not hello.
No, goodbye.
Oh, right then, goodbye. How did I do, Paul?
You did just as well as you always do.
Oh, thank you, Paul. You said the kindest things.
Goodbye.
Bye, listeners.
The campaign start, 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 the campaign start.